Error. Shutting down.
Walk, don't run. Use the handrails. Walk, don't run. Use the handrails.
Neon Temple simulation reboot in progress. Live stream initiated. Stabilizing environment.
We're live, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're speed running towards the end of the year. I'm not going to ask everybody about their projects just because I'm really excited to get into this talk. I kind of bullied the speaker, gently guided the speaker, if you will, into this talk. Next week we have a kind of a special night where Trey is bringing in a lawyer and an accountant, right?
Yeah, an estate lawyer.
Yeah, a state lawyer and an accountant. And there's probably going to be some jokes about a lawyer and an accountant walk into a bar, and everybody's going to have fun. If you're watching at home and you don't have a lawyer, you don't have an estate lawyer, you don't have an accountant that you trust, you should probably come because you should have one of those things. That's like a prerequisite for being an adult. Yeah, especially since the boomers screwed us on raising us, so that's great. Yeah, the boomers didn't teach us that one, but come on down. Ask what's up. Yeah, we'll teach it. The millennials will pick up where the boomers left off. And anything else we need to talk about next week?
That's really it. Just
Yeah.
come with questions.
Yeah. I haven't scheduled the range day yet because is that a fucking Xbox?
I think
It's a refrigerator.
No, on top. That's an Xbox mini fridge.
Yes. Yeah.
Who do you think brought it?
Probably RJ. Yeah. We've pretty much become a thrift store for RJ. That's actually kind of cool. I'm taking a look at that once I go over there. Yeah, so
It's literally cool.
I
It's a
haven't
fridge.
scheduled the range day because usually it's like 3 or 4 people that seriously show up, and then me and Trey end up having to sacrifice an entire day to RSO for you ungrateful bastards. If there is serious interest about doing a range day this year, I'm going to need at least 10 people to kind of roger up and say that they're interested in this. You can do that in the general chat. You can do that in the projectile weapons chat, but I would like to see more than a couple people out there. I know we've tagged in, I think the guild has paid for 3 RSOs. If a couple of those RSOs would like to roger up and volunteer their services so that way it's not me and Trey sitting in plate carriers sweating and languishing under the sun all day, that would be great. But as it stands right now, range day is a no-go. You all have the power to make it a go. Good? Good. With that, so prior to us booking this talk, I figured out that Monday was the speaker's birthday. And for once, like, I've heard from a good friend that your 30s is a slip and slide, and then you're 40, and that's kind of a culture shock there. If Peacock's watching at home, if Crispy's watching, yeah, I think if you heard it from him, he's like 78, and he's just waiting on death's door. So, or if you're RJ, then you're eternally young because adrenochromes or something. I think RJ's like 60, and he looks like he's 20. So I don't know how that one works. It's definitely probably the adrenochromes. So with that, give a round of applause to Car RamRod, who is going to be talking about Car RamRod.
Hello, everyone.
Yay!
So Almost every picture that's going to be in this slideshow, unless otherwise stated, is a picture that I've taken or a project that I've been involved with.
Get the fuck out of here.
This is my friend's 2002 Ford Lightning. It's got a 5.2 liter dual overhead cam, supercharged, 250 shot of nitrous, forged internals. It does about a 10-second quarter mile. We took the engine out in his backyard because it had some kind of weird knocking sound that we couldn't figure out. So we're just like, well, just take the engine out.
Even with the knocking sound, that was still the best truck Ford ever made.
Yeah, that's still a super cool truck. Single cab, step side, like 800 horsepower. Like, it's freaking awesome. But the title of my talk is Not So Shady Shade Tree Mechanics. Trust the process, ignore the extra bolts. So here we have it. Who am I? I am RamRod, or Ramses. I have always been into cars for as long as I can know. I started because I couldn't afford to pay somebody to work on my vehicle, so I had to do it myself. And it ended with me, as many of you probably have, it ended with me just not trusting other people to work on my stuff. So wanting to do it myself to make sure that it's done the way I want it done, make sure that, you know, torque specs are done correctly and in the correct order with the correct hardware, correct tools, no shortcuts. Because at the end of the day, if I'm going like 150 plus on this bike, I don't want anything to come apart that I didn't, you know, have anything involvement in. So that being said, why work on your own car? This is me again. That was actually the day I got that car. If you want to do stupid shit with your vehicle, then unless you've got really deep pockets, you're going to probably have to wrench on it. So it's better for you to learn how to work on it and do it on your own schedule. There is also a lot of satisfaction, much like everything that we do, in knowing that you did something yourself. So like building a home lab or home projects or whatever, we just like to tinker. As hackers, we like to tinker. We like to do things ourselves. We're very technical. We're very hands-on, and it's just fun, and it's very rewarding as well. You'll also save a lot of money, if you can learn how to work on your vehicle yourself. Even the simplest thing, like an oil change. I don't even really know how much an oil change costs, but I think the last time I looked, it was like nearly $100. Yep. And it's like $30 worth of oil and filters, and if you could do it yourself, you can just do it for 30 bucks.
If you bulk order the oil and the filters on Amazon, then it's even cheaper.
Yes. And you can just store that in your garage. Special oil filters. What's that?
It's even buying better stuff than you get from.
Yeah. I've got like I've got like 2 or 3 oil filters for all my vehicles that are just stocked in my toolbox. What else did I say on here? Warranties end, but zip ties are forever. Yeah. So you'll notice a trend here. I'm not very nice to my tires sometimes, but in my defense, these were really awful tires, and the sooner I got through them, then the sooner I could get better ones. Here's a pro tip, by the way. This is my Firebird on the side of the Veterans. I had a blowout on my right rear, and the reason both of them are off is because it's a rear-wheel drive vehicle, and on a rear-wheel drive vehicle, you want both of your wheels to be the same size and circumference. Otherwise, one will be spinning faster or slower than the other, and it will ruin your differential. So if you have a front-wheel drive vehicle and you blow a front tire, you want to take a matching wheel off the back and put it on the front, and vice versa in this case. So I put the spare tire on the front because it's a small donut, and then I put my good tire from the front to the back. That way I wouldn't damage my differential. Another big pro tip, just a second, is if you ever are on the side of the road changing a flat, always take a picture and save it in your phone, so if you're ever late somewhere, you can just send that picture to them and say, hey, I had a blowout, I'm going to be a few minutes late. Like, they'll never know unless they zoom in on your registration, like, hey, wait a minute, that's an old picture, what's up?
So if you have an all-wheel drive, is donut just useless, really?
Hopefully your spare is a full-size spare. but a lot of vehicles these days don't even have spares. Like my Cadillac didn't come with a spare, and I had to buy one aftermarket online.
Oh, that is actually wild.
So-
If you bought anything like newer than like 2018, they actually sell you the spare separately. It does not come with your car.
Yep.
I found that when I went to go change a friend of ours' tire on her Kia, and they're like, "Oh no, they wanted to charge me like an extra $800 for a tire." So I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
And sometimes you can find, and a lot of times these cars, like my Cadillac, for example, didn't come with a spare, but it still had like an indentation, like it still had the door and like where it would be. All they left you was an air compressor and a bottle of Fix-A-Flat. So I just chucked that, and on eBay, I found like a whole kit with like a scissor jack and tire iron and everything that just fit right in there. I had to be careful with what I got because I have bigger than usual brakes on my Cadillac, so I had to make sure what I got would clear the caliper. Because last thing you need is for you to put your spare on and then it just doesn't even work because it just hits the caliper.
I think an entire talk could be dedicated about the in-shitification of the automotive industry.
I tell my wife for as long as she'll listen, like I'm always just complaining about how shit new cars are. And I almost feel like a boomer, like I kind of get it now. Like they don't make them like they used to, but they really don't. Like the new cars don't have soul. There's more computers and sensors and electronics on there that you could ever figure out, and it's just there's so many like extra bells and whistles that they put them on now, but that I hardly even feel like I'm driving the thing myself anymore.
I wish fake Jeremy were here because he would tell you this. He would tell all of us the story. A rock hit his front headlight on his F-150. That's like, I guess, 2 years old, and only the dealership sold the. There was no aftermarket OEM for the front headlight and for the fixture, and the dealership was selling it for like $2,000. And I think me and Rab were like, yeah, we'll just duct tape a flashlight to like the hollow point because screw that.
That's insane. Yeah, and that's another thing. Like new stuff is so expensive these days. Let's see.
Sometimes, actually, my sensor saved my vehicle from getting the front end ripped off 5 minutes into Pigeon Forge by some asshole who just decided to cut in front of us. Because I know I didn't hit the brakes that fast. I was tired, exhausted from being in the car almost 14 hours, and we stopped. And the guy, I could see like that.
A pedestrian or another vehicle?
Another vehicle just whipped out. And I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" But the safety features worked because the sensors hit and everything stopped.
Yeah.
Where I was putting the brake on.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, you'd want to hit a pedestrian. It does less damage to your vehicle.
Now,
So,
car coming in
yeah.
at you about 20 miles an hour.
Let's see. Jack stands. Your car is heavy. You are squishy. Yep. Yep. Disconnect the battery unless you like cuss words and sparks. Let's see. Rust. Yep. Okay.
Was your wife with you when that picture was taken?
No.
Okay, that's probably why it was so easy to fix. I've had my wife in the truck when my truck broke down, and it's like, oh, great. But then you're like, it's hot, like, I want to go home, I'm bored.
I've never in my life done those things in your car.
All right, so here's a few pictures of my toolbox. If the toolbox and everything in it is worth thousands of dollars, and that's a really hard pill to swallow. However, a lot of these things I got just little by little. Like I needed a dead blow hammer, so I just bought this hammer. Or I needed this plier right here, which is a C-clip plier. It's a very special plier. Actually, I have two. This blue handled one is also a C-clip plier. I got thermometers here because one time I didn't know if one of my cylinders was firing or not, so I just used a thermometer and put it on that particular exhaust header to see if it was colder than the rest, and it was. A lot of these things I only got here or there. Like I bought this once one-off breaker bars. These are actually extendable breaker bars, so they can be short or long. What else? This is an interior tool kit. So it's a bunch of plastic pry bars and things like that, so you can take interior apart without using metal tools and damaging.
I see you two were sorted into House Milwaukee. Trey is in House Ryobi.
I have Milwaukee and I also have Makita. So those are the two that I have.
Oh, okay.
If I had more money, I would have had like Bosch tools, but Milwaukee was the cheapest, was the best delta of cheapest versus highest quality. So you tend to stray to too cheap to where it's a shit tool, or too expensive to where you're like not really you're not really getting the value for how much you paid.
Or you don't want to actually use it.
Yep.
Or you don't want to actually do it. Yeah. So Milwaukee's a nice. Yeah, power tools. So like he's talking about my Milwaukee. This is an electric ratchet. So these are analog manual ratchets, and then this is just an electric one to speed things up. Different vice grips. I needed just one vice grip, but there was a good deal on a 3-pack. But yeah, organization is your best friend, especially when it comes to an investment like this. It's really, really nice to be able to know exactly where in your box something is. And I have some friends that their toolboxes are just horrible. You just open the drawer and it's just a pile of tools, and you can't find it, and they can find it somehow. But I pride myself, if anyone's ever working with me, I can be like, yeah, third drawer down, left-hand side. You should see it. And it's like, yeah, third drawer down, left-hand side. There's my little Torx bits. So it's like, plus you spent so much money on this, and you just don't want to lose something, especially the 10 millimeter.
It's always the 10 millimeter.
You don't have a choice.
The 10 millimeter is present and accounted for.
Yeah, I took a picture when you first opened it.
No, these pictures are recent.
Just for people watching at home, or people who don't understand, why is the 10 millimeter socket always a meme?
The 10 millimeter socket is a meme because it is the most commonly used, and it always goes missing. No matter what, like you can just set it down and then you turn and you look back and it's gone.
The gremlins carry it
The
off.
gremlins carry it away.
Or it gets dropped into your engine bay and it's just gone forever.
So what you want to hear is a bunch of tink, 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 tinks, because then it just falls all the way through and you can find it. Oh, when you hear just one tink, that's when.
I've done that before.
That's when you got to get the magnets. You got to get the mirror. I've got an inspection mirror, right here. I've got like right here are my my magnets and my inspection mirrors and my mechanical fingers. So so you're one of those guys.
I just keep a bucket of 10 millimeters. I hope I don't use the bucket.
He went to a farmer's market and bought a
Bucket goes in.
I have.
Oh boy!
Disappears. I've actually got a couple of buckets of 10 millimeters.
I have been gifted a pack of 10 millimeters before, so that was a very nice gift, actually. I liked it.
What's something you can actually use?
Yeah, exactly. I'll always need 10. But luckily, all the 10 millimeters that are in my kit right here, there's like 1, 2, 3 10 millimeters in this kit. They're all original to the kit, believe it or not. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Jeremy Clarkson drawer.
Yeah. It's actually labeled. You can't see it, but it does say Clarkson drawer on it. Oh yeah, I think you've seen it. Yeah. So this is my Clarkson drawer. If anyone ever watched BBC Top Gear before it went to shit, Jeremy Clarkson has this little bit where he just fixes everything with a hammer. So that's why my hammer drawer is called the Clarkson drawer. All right. Oh, tool bags. Like I've got. I don't know if it's in this picture. I think it's just off camera because this drawer actually is quite wide. I have a whole pack of parts bags as well. Whenever you're taking things apart, especially complicated things, it's really nice to put them in little baggies and label them. You know, supercharger lid bolts or coil pack bolts.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got some of those too.
I buy those magnetic trays. Like I've got a Harbor Freight Insider membership, and I just pay like 75 cents for magnetic trays, and I think I bought like 30 of them.
That's nice. Working on guns too. Yeah.
Yeah. Allegedly.
Safety.
Oh.
So if you ain't bleeding, did you really work on your car? I call this a Mand-Aid. So this is just like a paper towel and some electrical tape. So yeah, just there's a lot of sharp things in there. I think in this particular picture, one of these, I was doing spark plugs, and the stock exhaust manifold, which you will see later in the slideshow, I removed, had like a really thin metal heat shield on it that just nicked me, and it just cut me like a razor. It was like so sharp, I barely even felt it.
Did you bleed into the cylinder?
I bled on my engine, so my engine has blood on it, but no, I did not take the heads off, so the cylinders were still good. Oil changes. So these pictures I got off of Google because I've never really taken a picture of an oil change before. But generally speaking, it's nice to do an oil change on a warm engine because the oil has different weights. So when the oil is cold, it's thicker, and then when it warms up, it gets more viscous. And the numbers on your oil actually will tell you that, like 5W30. That's the weight of the oil. So I don't remember what the scale is actually called, but the 5 means it's like more thick, and then or actually less thick, and then the 30 means it's thinner. So based on your engine, like most of my vehicles take like 530. Some take like 040 or 050. Usually turbocharged vehicles have like some weird oil that they like. Yes, sir.
Softball question. So, Rensis, I've never changed an oil before. How do I know what oil and oil thing to get?
I'm glad you asked. Your owner's manual. And if your owner's manual does not tell you, or if your vehicle does not have an owner's manual because you are not the first owner of it and it has been lost, you can Google it. Google is your friend here. ChatGPT now, I guess. I mean, you always want to verify with ChatGPT. Trust but verify.
I changed a radiator with ChatGPT.
There you go.
Also
Yeah.
on the filler cap sometimes it'll say like the
Yep.
yeah.
So on the filler cap of the engine itself, it'll tell you right on there. If it is an original filler cap to the engine, it will tell you right on the oil filler cap in your engine bay. Yes, sir.
Rensis, the guy at Harbor Freight, or the guy at Advanced Auto Parts, who looks like he knows what he's talking about, said, I have this kind of oil and oil filter. Should I believe him?
If he looked it up on his computer, generally speaking, their databases are fairly reliable. So if you tell them your exact year, make, model, and engine size, and they plug it all in correctly, generally speaking,
Watch them do it.
that will be correct. Yeah, but usually in the aisles there will be books there as well that you can actually thumb through. When you're doing an oil change, the first thing you want to do is remove your oil drain plug. It should not be on very tight. Always use hand tools when you're doing oil changes because generally speaking, your oil pan is made out of aluminum, very soft metal. Do not use power tools. Use a wrench, and if it's not coming off, then use a longer wrench and pull it off very slowly. Do not use the Ugga Dugga 5000. The oil filter, you only use a wrench when you're removing an oil filter. You do not use a wrench to install it. It's hand tight only. So remove your oil filter, and then what I like to do is if it goes straight up, because a lot of cars are sideways or whatever, you can't do it, but what I like to do is I like to pre-fill it, and then you want to dip your finger and just rub it on this O-ring with your finger before screwing it back onto your block. What that does is that helps the seal mate up nicely with the metal surface, and when it mates up nicely with the metal surface, then you won't have any leaks. So you always want to oil an O-ring, no matter what you're doing, oil filter or anything with an O-ring, you always want to oil it before you install it.
Do you spit on the oil filter?
I was just about to tell you I was proud of you two for making that whole slide. I just heard the giggle.
I was looking at him too, and I could see him laughing.
So you always want to lube your O-ring, fully install it, screw it on by hand, as tight as you can by hand, but do not use a tool to install the oil filter. And with the oil drain plug, you want to check with your manufacturer's recommendations as far as torque specs, but generally speaking, just get it as snug as you can with a hand wrench. Do not use an impact driver, unless it's like not your vehicle or you really dislike the person. And like your ex-girlfriend or whatever, then you can use an impact driver on it and then fuck the next person that tries to work on it. So let me see, brakes. So when you're working on brakes, this last bullet point is the most important one. Only grease the slide pins and the pad, not the friction surface, because you want the friction surface to have friction.
Well, I don't want it to be shiny.
So if you have squeaky brakes, do not grease the rotors, because then you will have no brakes. So if you have squeaky brakes, generally that means that your brake pad has a certain amount of friction material on it, and then it usually has this tiny little metal tab And then when you use up a certain amount of your friction material, that metal tab will come in contact with your rotor, and that will make that horrible screeching sound. That is an oral reminder that you need to change your brakes. That's my wife's truck. Her brakes are very easy to work on. This is on my Cadillac. These are giant Brembo brakes, but these are particularly easy to work on. There's just a pin here and here. You just knock those out, and then the pads come right out. And then once you pull the pads out, you want to compress the pistons, because the pistons are, you know, closer to the disc. And once you put your fat new pads in, it won't fit. So you want to compress your pistons back out, slide your new pins in, and then usually I grease it right here where they ride on the pin here and there. That way they can move in without like binding up left or right. And yeah, if you can, and this is the aforementioned Ugga Dugga tool right here. This is the impact. I only use this to remove the lug nuts, and sometimes if like I need to remove more components, I'll use that. But referring back to the previous slide, never use an impact on oil changes. There's no need for an impact on oil changes. And here's also a little mat that I use to keep things organized while I work. And this is a little tub of anti-seize. That's the lubricant that I use on the moving parts of the brake caliper itself. If it's not your brake cleaner, then yes, you can. If it's your brake cleaner that you paid for, then you want to use it very sparingly. But if you didn't pay for it, then go ham on it. Like,
Is the struggle that real? Brake cleaner's cheap.
yeah, you can get a crate of it on Amazon too, for pretty cheap too. So
it's good for other shit.
But working on your brakes is really easy. Just make sure that when you're jacking the car up that you have the emergency brake on in the back. You don't want your emergency brake engaged if you're trying to actually work on the brakes, because then it'll be, you know, locked up and you can't remove the caliper. But in this case, I was working on the front, and the e-brake is in the back, so I had the e-brake on so that once you jack the car up, it doesn't roll away. Not so much of a concern with an automatic vehicle because the transmission locks the wheels from turning, but all my other vehicles are manual, so that's just sort of something I keep in my head, in the back of my head. I don't know how to work on brakes. I've never done brakes before. I would really like a step-by-step guide with video on how to work on my brakes.
Hey, the GOAT.
This guy right here, Chris Fix, his YouTube channel, there's a lot of automotive YouTubers that I watch, but if you want to know how to do something you've never done before, Chris Fix has the best YouTube channel ever to learn how to do things. He goes step by step. He has excellent camera angles. He takes his time, sets everything up. He teaches you how to do it the long way and the right way for everything. Like if you've never worked on brakes before, watch his video on how to change brakes. If you've never replaced your coolant, piston return springs, that's a bit more of a complex job, but I'm sure if you had a video on it, or like how to install a turbo kit or something like that. Another thing that I also like is rockauto.com. This used to be the place where I bought all my car parts, but lately their prices have been getting a little bit high and I can find them better elsewhere. However, when you're researching parts, this is still the place to go. Like if you need a part number and you want to take that part number somewhere else to find a better price on your part that you're looking for, Rock Auto is an excellent resource to do that.
They have good deals too sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes Rock Auto has good deals. Let me see, where to learn. YouTube, forums, Facebook groups. Forums and Facebook groups are generally more for like niche vehicles. If you've got like something that's unique or, you know, or old, then forums, especially like forums that are not attached to Facebook, are usually pretty good. Vehicle fluids. Ideally, you want the oil to be inside of the engine and not outside of the engine. You can see there's a trail. There's a trail leading up to where I stopped, and then it just kept leaking. So this was on the Veterans again, and I'm not sure exactly why, but this is my old bike, and this bike threw a rod. And I was just cruising along. This was actually at the end of our day.
What does that mean to throw a rod?
So I'll show you later what rods look like. because I have pictures of rods, but basically you've got...
I'll give you that.
You motherfuckers. So basically the connecting rod is what connects the piston to the crankshaft. You got your crankshaft, your connecting rod, and then your piston, and that's what moves up and down inside of your cylinder. In this case, I'm not sure exactly. From the autopsy, it seemed like there was oil starvation. I had a K&N filter on this bike, and later on I was told to never use K&N filters, to only use OEM Suzuki filters on a Suzuki bike. And the guy that tuned my bike said that he thinks that this engine blew up because there was oil starvation from that oil filter. But this was actually at the end of our day. We had spent all morning and all day riding in the twisties over like in Brooksville. And this was just on the Veterans Expressway coming home. We were all in formation going 70, 75 miles an hour. We weren't really horsing around or anything. And then my engine just made like a woo, and then boom, blew up. And my rear tire like immediately locked up, and I was going 70 miles an hour. I didn't know why it locked up, so I pulled my clutch in, and then it got spinning again. And I was like, okay, well, my bike is off. I'm going 70. Maybe I can bump start it. So I let out my clutch again, and then as I let out my clutch, it starts to skid again, so I pull it back in. As I pull over, you can't really see it, but the whole back tire is completely coated in oil. And the guy behind me, his whole motorcycle was covered in my oil. Or as I like to call it, anti-corrosion agent. So he's fine. But luckily this did not end in a crash, because it very easily could have, with my back tire locking up and then being covered in oil. So I just kept my clutch pulled in. That way both tires were spinning, and I just kept it straight and then just pulled it off. And then my friend came later with a trailer to pick me up. So yeah, shit happens. I ended up keeping this bike, and I changed the engine. I bought another engine off of eBay, got it shipped to the house, and swapped it out. So that bike lived on.
So what you're saying is cars and bikes are not like helicopters. You want the liquid to not be leaking.
So Trey is a former Marine, and in military aviation, and in a lot of aviation, if it leaks, that means it has fluid in it. So if you see a little puddle next to your aircraft, then you're like, all right, cool. So it had oil in it. So let me check to make sure it's topped off before flying it again. No oil means it's suspicious. You got to make sure.
I fucking trusted my life to these people? Are you kidding me?
If it's leaking on you while you're flying, you're fine. It's still crispy clean.
Oh, hey, this Osprey seems legit. I guess I'll get in it.
This is suspiciously clean, especially an Osprey. Oh my God, you don't want an Osprey. All right, so we're back to the Cadillac again. Engine air filter. In this particular picture, the top one is the original air filter for this car. It's got this horrible accordion thing, and then you can't really see it. I call it a donkey dick, but it was like this tube. It was like a 1.5 foot long tube that went down. It's like a resonator to make it quieter. Anyway, I got rid of that, and I got like this nice high-flowing cold air intake. But you always want to, the engine air filter is like one of the easiest things that anyone can do inside of their car. It's usually just a couple clips. You just pop it off, open it, take the old filter out, put the new filter in. Just a little. You don't even need tools. Most of the time, you don't need tools. Sometimes there might be like a Phillips screwdriver that's holding the lid on, but most of the time you don't need tools. Keeping your engine air filter clean is important, because you don't want your engine to ingest particulates that will cause premature wear inside of your pistons and cylinders, or inside of your cylinders and on your pistons. And in the case of upgrading it, or hacking it, as Cochise would say, it improves airflow and performance. And in most cases, just putting a cold air intake on your car will get you like 1 or 2 horsepower. It's not like, 10 or 15 like some manufacturers may claim. But I was doing a lot to this car, including a tune and some other things. And it would not make sense to have just a normal air filter on it. And it makes the supercharger louder in my case, so that was extra cool. Tire rotation and wear. This is me coming from a Cars and Coffee at Armature Works. Yeah, the tires rotate every time you drive. Why should it matter? So whenever you're braking and whenever you're cornering, your front tires will experience more wear than your rear tires. So if you want to get longer life out of your tires, it helps to rotate them around, like to move the front to the back and the back to the front. The only time that's not possible is on certain vehicles when you have offset tire sizes. Usually you won't run into that unless it's a high performance vehicle. And sometimes you might experience accidental excessive tire wear, in which case so that was accidental excessive tire wear on my rear tires. So yeah, that I think that mark is actually mine, because I don't think that was there when I started. That was just a little baby. There was this kid on the side of the street that said, "Don't be a bitch," and I wasn't a bitch, so I just did it. But yeah, you want to check your tire pressures, tread life. If you don't know what PSI your tire should be at, generally speaking, it's in the door jamb. So just open your driver's side door, and there will be a sticker on the inside.
It's also on the side of the tire.
The side of the tire has the range, because any size tire can go on any vehicle, generally speaking. So, like me and Trey's car could, for example, have similar, like the exact same tire, but like his vehicle weighs different from my vehicle. So you still want to look inside of your door jamb, and there will be a sticker either on the door itself or on the door jamb on the vehicle side.
That sticker will also conveniently tell you what kind of oil it needs.
Yep. That sticker will tell you the oil that you need, the size of your tires, the pressure of your tires. It'll tell you the weight of your vehicle if your vehicle weight is of concern. And your VIN number. Your VIN number should be on there as well.
What's the N in VIN number mean?
The VIN number?
No, all that information.
Oh, on the firewall. So you have to open your hood to see it all? So in Japan, you're talking about Japan, I'm assuming?
Yeah, that too. I think Japan it's on the firewall as well. It's not in the door jamb where I expected it to be. I pulled over to a station and I was like, "Where's the tire pressure? It's supposed to be the door jamb." He was like, "Oh, come over here and pop your hood." And I was like, "Okay."
That's ass backwards.
I was like, "This are you gonna stab me when I pop the hood? You're stabbing through my car."
Batteries and jump starts. So generally speaking, depending on climate especially, batteries can last anywhere from 3 to 5 years. You want to inspect the terminals and make sure that they're clean and free of corrosion. And you also want to make sure they're snug. Sometimes the mounting hardware for your terminals can get loose, and you'll have issues with starting your car or have just weird random electrical issues. And sometimes it just turns out to be a loose battery terminal. So you want to secure your battery terminals. Generally speaking, they're fine. You always want to have like a plastic cover over one of them. And generally speaking, on almost all vehicles nowadays, if you look at your battery, there's a plastic cover that hides your at least one of the terminals. That way you don't accidentally lay a wrench on there and weld it together. If you ever have a dead battery, you want to hook up the jumper cables in the order of black, black, red, red, and you want to remove them in reverse order, red, red, black, black. Black is your negative lead. You can usually connect that either directly to the negative terminal of your battery, or you could connect it to any exposed piece of metal frame that's in your engine bay, because the engine and battery and all that is grounded to the frame. Same as the other vehicle. What's up?
Battery for the Ooga Booga 5000.
For the Ugga Dugga? Yeah.
You just touch that and they go terminal.
Yeah. All right, so that is most of my advice that I can give, and everything else after this is going to be just like projects and things that I've done. Does anyone have any questions so far? Or anything? Yes, sir.
Before you go into that, again, another softball. So, what's your process for diagnosing what's wrong with a car? You're welcome.
So a car needs three things to work. It needs fuel, it needs spark, and it needs
Air.
Air. Yeah, that's right. So if the car won't start, it's usually one of those three things. The next thing you'll do is you'll just get in, you'll turn the key and see what happens. If it lights up and it sounds real weak, and then you turn the key and you hear like a click, 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 usually that's a starter relay that's just not getting enough voltage to start the engine. In that case, it's just a jump start and you're good to go. Now, if you get in your car and you turn the key and it cranks and cranks and cranks with plenty of power, but it doesn't start, that generally means that there is either no spark or no fuel. So then you have to troubleshoot whether you're getting your spark or getting your fuel. On an older vehicle, that's relatively easy to do. You can just remove a spark plug and connect it to the wire, and then just touch it to a piece of metal and have someone turn the key. And while you're holding the rubber part, by the way, because it will kick you in the dick. So you have to hold the rubber part and then touch the metal threads to a metal piece in the engine, and then when they're turning the key, you should see it spark, 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 spark. It's either that or it's not getting fuel. And on most newer vehicles, if it's not getting a spark or a fuel signal, then it's generally a computer issue, because that's all computer controlled. On older vehicles, it's a little bit easier to troubleshoot and work on. So, but most of the time on a newer vehicle, unless it's like got any kind of crazy modifications to it, generally speaking, it's just a dead battery.
The Silverado, every time I thought it was the battery, it was always a position sensor.
Oh, cam position sensor?
Yep.
See, that's a quirk, but that's an old vehicle, so.
It's so annoying.
So this is my friend's Audi. Speaking of all-wheel drive, this is another crazy car. It's a 3.5 liter forged internals, twin turbo, all-wheel drive. It's not like super fast or super powerful. It's like 600 horsepower, but it's still cool, I think. It's a 2002. This is the midst of our project when we were taking it out. In this particular case, and actually it's on the next slide, when we took the engine apart, he actually threw a rod in this engine as well. These are the rods, by the way. So these are the connecting rods right here, and then these are the pistons. It's supposed to be a nice curved journal here, and as you can see, this part went to the moon. We were, on this car, we were testing no lift shift, and it did not go very well. So he got this tune in his car where you could keep your foot planted on the gas pedal and then shift to your next gear, and it will hold your RPMs without you having to take your foot off the gas pedal to do your shift. So we were testing no lift shift, and then when he did shift it, it over revved and blew the motor up. So we took the motor out. As you can see, there's three holes here for the 3 cylinders. So this is a V6. It's like it's a 3.6 liter V6. Crazy engineering on this. This was actually one hell of a project.
When you say a V something or a straight something and liters, what does that mean?
So the liter is the displacement or the size of the engine. Generally speaking, most engines are between 3 and 4 liters. Unless it's like on a truck, then it can be 5 or 6 or even 7. That's just your engine size. That's how, whenever you go to the parts store, that's how they know what type of engine you have, because your vehicle could come with different engine options. It could come with like a 2.5 liter turbo or a 3 liter non-turbo. So you're going to have to know what your car has. And what was the other part of that question?
V or straight.
Like V straight, like what does that number mean?
So,
what does V mean?
So that just means like how the engine is built. So you can see this is the block. These are the cylinder walls. You can only see 2 in this picture, but you have to believe me, there are 3. There's 3 here and 3 there, so that means there are 6 cylinders. So it's a 6-cylinder engine, and they are in a V formation with the crankshaft in the middle. There are some that are V8s, so there are 4 pistons on all sides. There are some that are inline 6. When they're in line, that means the engine block is like this and all the pistons are in line. Almost all motorcycles have like inline engines. There are a lot of German vehicles that have inline engines, but for the most part, like 4-cylinder engines, Hondas and smaller engines are generally 4-cylinder engines. A 4-cylinder is always 9 times out of 10 going to be an inline engine, with the exception of like my motorcycle out there where it's a V4. So it's got a 4-cylinder, but they're in a V formation.
What if I don't have cylinders?
Then you have a Mazda. He's referring to Mazdas. They have what's called a Wankel motor, and it has like a Dorito-shaped thing that just sort of rocks like this inside of a chamber.
Is it reliable?
It's a piece of metal tumbling around
It's-
inside of an engine as an explosion.
It's a piece of something.
They
Between a Wankel rotary motor and rotary engines you see on airplanes.
Oh, you mean radial?
Radial's not a rotary.
So a radial engine has pistons. So a radial engine has a central crankshaft, and then it's got a pattern of pistons that go in a radial in a circle. Like they could be like 6 or 8 or 12 pistons, and they're in the big circle, and it just goes like that. Whereas a Wankel is just like one single Dorito. It's Dorito shaped.
There is a company making a reverse rotary engine now, where they like reverse the design, where the cylinder is Dorito shaped, and then the piston
tumbler is
is
circular?
Yeah,
That's weird.
yeah.
Whatever works. Now the advantage to the rotary motors is that they're not really made anymore. You can find them on older Mazdas, but they rev very high. And they sound really freaking cool. Like we can look on YouTube or something, but they sound really cool at idle and at high RPMs. They're not known for their reliability, but they are known for fun.
I would deal with it just for that idle sound.
Yeah.
I think Mazda still supports the Wankel. You can still get parts for it. Most cars, like Japanese model cars,
Mhm.
you're only going to get 25 years of service out of them. After 25 years, they don't have to get parts for them, and they don't sell their IP. So like you'll see old car companies like Mustangs or Camaros and stuff like that. They sell their IP to car clubs, and the car clubs buy up and reproduce parts for them so they keep on the road. Japanese car manufacturers don't do that, with the exception of Skylines, Wankel parts for the RX-7s, and I think Honda's going to start doing it for NSX.
Toyota
So-
doesn't do that? How the hell do they keep Trunos on the road?
Renaults?
Yeah.
Because the shit never
Because-
breaks.
Yeah, either because they don't blow up, or what's left is you have what's left in graveyards, and once all those are exhausted,
So it's basically their flagship vehicles, like their legendary vehicles that they keep.
Honda just announced the NSX. In fact, it's because it's so old and because they're
Yeah.
so proud of it. But like all the Civics and things like Type R's and all this other stuff, whatever, Toyotas like Camrys and stuff. Once you get about 25 years,
Yeah.
you should, if your car's close to 25 years old. If you drive a Japanese make or model car and it's getting close to 25 years in age, you should contact your dealership and start buying up all the OEM parts you want for that car while they still have stock. Because after 25 years, I think they only have to produce enough parts for those cars to be allowed on the road for 20 years. And that's the reason why some of the early like B16 series engines for Hondas and stuff, they ran out of parts early, because in the early 2000s, everybody started buying up all the B series parts to
Yeah.
swap out motors. So
Yeah.
they're like effectively out of parts.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fast and Furious. Mazda is coming out with a new rotary engine too.
Yeah, I've heard rumors of them bringing the rotary back out, and also I've heard rumors of a new Honda S2000. That should be pretty
I've seen
sick.
that.
Yeah.
The RX-7 is supposed to be an electric car that has their generator as the rotary engine.
Fuck off.
It's a single rotor motor that's just for the generator.
Suck my
I'll take
ass.
shit nobody asked for 500, Alex.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, that's the Audi. Like I said, those are the pistons and connecting rods there. These two parts here are the cylinder heads and the dual overhead cams. These are the camshafts that their job is to basically open and close the intake and exhaust valves.
So, again, I'm trying to throw easy softballs here just in case
can throw
people
hard
watching
ones,
at
too,
home don't know cars like we do. Why would somebody pick a V versus an inline or a V8 versus a V6?
Generally speaking, decisions like that are based off of cost and what you want to do with your vehicle. Generally speaking, smaller engines are more economical, fuel economical, and cheaper. For example, if you get a V6 Mustang versus a V8 Mustang,
You like balls.
do you like men or no? I'm just kidding. So a lot of times people want the Mustang, but they don't want the V8, or they don't want to have to pay the fuel economy tax that comes with a V8. They don't want to be as cool as the people with V8s.
That's like ordering a Russian mail order bride. Like, yeah, you've got this beautiful woman here, but she doesn't want to be here. Like,
Yeah.
you lose the soul.
Or you're ordering a Russian mail order bride, but instead of Svetlana, you get Helga.
Oh,
And it's
no.
still technically a Russian bride, but it's not like,
Taxes.
it's Helga.
Many other countries.
Hang on, I'm walking over
There,
to Rob.
yes, that is another thing. Many countries charge you based off of the size of your engine.
Should we bomb those countries?
An extra tax. Most of them are European countries. Yeah, we've already bombed them.
I mean, what have we done?
Yeah, I guess that's what you do.
Yeah, but that's basically it. A smaller engine is cheaper. It's more fuel economic. It doesn't make as much power, but like if that's not any of your goals, then that's fine. If you know you want to party, then you get something with a big motor. That way you can play with it. Speaking of buying parts, you're going to run into some people like this at the parts store sometimes. You'll ask for a clutch kit, and they'll ask you if it's a manual or automatic, or you'll ask for like wiper blades, and they'll want to know like what size motor you have. And it's like that's not relevant, but the best thing to do when you're trying to buy parts is, like I said, go to a website like rockauto.com and research exactly the part that you're looking for, what it looks like, what its part number is. And then what I usually do when I call a parts store is I say, hey, can you look up a part number for me? Because my vehicles especially like are modified, so what's in their computer is not what's applicable to me. Like a very basic example is I have a bigger oil filter in my car. That way I can have more oil capacity. So if they look up my car, they're going to have a part number for an oil filter that's not the one that I want. Or if I tell them what I have, they're going to say that doesn't fit your car.
Have you ever done the Toyota Tacoma water gasket thing?
Yeah. So there is a Toyota. So what he was referring
Do
to
you
for the
want to show
people.
a picture?
So what he's referring to for the people at home is, yeah, let me.
I think it's a 1997 Toyota Tacoma water pump gasket. And you want to make sure when you call up to the auto store, tell them that you've gotten some bad parts before and make them describe it to you.
Oh, this is hilarious.
See, so what is it? The Toyota Tacoma.
You have Discord up. There's an example of that discussion.
Yep.
Oh, is there? Someone already threw it up. It's in the event discussion.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll tag you in it. Hang on.
Event discussion. There it is. I don't see it. Oh, I see some Wankel motors.
That's going a little.
Oh, there it is. Oh, yes.
You gotta make sure they describe it to you.
I think you got the right part.
What exactly does it look like? Yeah.
Hey, could you describe it to me, please?
All right. Oh my God, it's massive. All right. Back to PowerPoint. Okay, so yeah, have your part number ready when you go, and that will be very helpful. Speaking of clutch, this is a picture of the Firebird when my clutch blew up. This was actually surprisingly easy to fix. All it was a just some bolts that are around my bell housing of my transmission, and I have the transmission in the next slide. But this is the clutch, and then this is the pressure plate, and both of these go up against the flywheel. So this is actually the back side of my engine, looking forward of the car. What else do I have here? I've got some transmission fluid because I decided to change my transmission fluid while I was at it, and this is a slide hammer so that I could pull out my my thrust bearing, I think is what it's called. So the way the slide hammer works is it sort of hooks into something, and it's got that big heavy weight, and you just slide it backwards, and it like sort of knocks it out like that.
And you never make sure your friends are watching.
Yes, and you never have your face in the line of fire. So here's the transmission. I've got this fancy transmission jack. It's got like a cradle on it, and it gives pitch and roll as well as up and down. So it's really nice when you're trying to finagle your transmission back into your car.
The beer is essential.
Yeah, the beer is essential. So yeah, that was a nice little. And then this is actually the shifter right here. This is the part that comes up into the car that the shift knob is screwed onto. So in this particular car, and this is another reason I like older muscle cars, is because the shifter is like directly attached to the transmission. On a lot of cars, my friend's red Audi included, there's a lot of linkages that go from the shifter to the transmission, and through those linkages, you lose a lot of your tactile feeling, so it's more sloppy feeling, in my opinion.
You're not even putting a lot of faith in those little claws.
Yeah. Yeah.
What'd you say?
So that's a whole lot of faith being put to those claw stands right there.
I mean, the tires are down. What's the worst that could happen?
You talking about the jack stands?
Yeah.
There's 4.
Yeah, I know, there's a lot of faith on just those.
Yeah.
I mean, how much does a T-Bird weigh?
It's like,
Or that's a Firebird, not a T-Bird.
yeah, it's like, I think it's like 30 something, or 3,000 something, like 3,500.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know exactly.
You could survive that.
It'll be all right. Yeah. I put more faith in worse things. So these jack stands are pretty solid. And that's another thing.
Tire underneath.
There are some things that you can skimp out on, but safety equipment is not one of them. Jack stands are safety equipment. These are Duralast brand. If I can recommend you don't buy one thing from Harbor Freight, it would be jack stands.
Yep.
Spend some money and get some more expensive ones. They're generally not too expensive.
Harbor Freight's really weird because their lower end stuff sucks. Their higher end stuff, especially for pumps and jack stands, like the Daytona brand, fucking amazing.
So that's a Harbor Freight jack right there, actually. So I don't dislike Harbor Freight. I'm just saying, like, I actually have 2 jacks. They're both Daytona aluminum jacks.
Yep.
This is a 1.5 ton, and my other one's a 3 ton.
I bought their Daytona low profile whenever it was like on sale.
Yeah.
Best jack I've ever owned in my life, bar none.
It's like $150 for this one. This is the 1.5 ton. But yeah, the jack stands, it's okay to spend a little more money on the jack stands. Trust me. Trust me on that. I promise I don't always pull engines out. But this is my friend's BMW that we pulled the engine out. We didn't swap the engine or anything. All we did was rebuild this one. But there are some times when you can't DIY something. Airbags are one of those things. You don't really want to mess with airbags unless you're removing them. And if you ever do mess with airbags, make sure your battery is disconnected on your vehicle. Transmission work. Some people, I am not one of the type of people that would take a transmission apart. This guy would and has. But generally speaking, there are certain things. Another thing that I don't fuck with is tuning. That's just not something that I've learned how to do or am willing to learn how to do.
Tires.
Tires.
I don't fuck with tires.
I've changed tires on a motorcycle with hand tools, like with like bars, but it's kind of hard to do that on a car without like the proper equipment and a balancer.
Balance it, do the camber. It's yeah.
Yeah. So everything that I'm showing you now is like just a little bit more advanced stuff. Like if you're a new person on a wrench, you're not going to be pulling motors out all the time or taking them apart. But doing the small jobs first are what eventually lead up to that. Because like when I was a teenager, my grandpa gave me a 1986 Nissan 200SX Turbo. Really cool car. He was the original owner of it. He bought it brand new from the dealership, but it had been rotting in his driveway for like 5 or 6 years. And he said, if you can get it working, you can have it. So I was like, game on. So first thing I did was throw a new battery in it and throw new spark plugs in it, and drain the fuel and put fresh fuel in it, and it fired right up. And then I tried to move it and it wouldn't budge. And that was because all the brakes were seized from sitting in the driveway for years. So that's when I learned how to do brakes. I took the wheels off and rebuilt the brakes and put it back together. And then it rolled. Hell yeah. I take it down the street and then it wouldn't stop because the brake master cylinder failed. I fixed the brakes on the wheels themselves, but the master cylinder also failed. So I had to like roll it into a ditch. I wasn't going very fast. And mind you, I'm like 15 or 16 when I'm doing this. So roll it back to my grandpa's house and he sets up some trash cans for me to crash into, plastic ones. And then I rebuild the brakes, and the brake master cylinder and the clutch cylinder, finally get it roadworthy. And so that's kind of like the very first wrenching I ever did. And it was an old Nissan, which was amazing to work on because you could take the whole car apart with just a handful of normal tools. Also, there's a corgi right there. Shop dog.
These sounds are very forgiving.
Yeah.
That was the first car I completely took apart.
So here's some pictures of my car. Here's the aforementioned exhaust manifolds. Remember I was talking about my thermometer. So these are the exhaust manifolds for the one side of the car. This is the old one and then this is the new one. So you can see the difference. And this is the reason I replaced them, is because these new ones flow a lot better and they don't have a catalytic converter on them. And I was looking for performance in this vehicle, so that's why I did this replacement on this particular car. But yeah, so what I did was I suspected one of my cylinders wasn't firing, so I just looked at each individual one of these with an infrared thermometer to see which one was colder than the rest. It was like 800 degrees, 800 degrees, 100 degrees, and then 800 degrees. So you're like, okay, so that cylinder is not working. So whenever, there are certain rules when you're working on a car, and one of them is if you ever have the exhaust off, you have to listen to what it sounds like without the exhaust.
Question from Fake Jeremy.
Yep.
You said you don't do tuning. Are you including stuff like porting the head, or you mean screwing with the ECM?
The ECM.
Yeah.
So I've done port jobs. I've ported my heads. I've ported my intake.
What does that mean, by the way?
So porting just means you take a Dremel and you basically widen and smoothen the interior parts of like your intake manifold so that you have better airflow. You port it for better airflow basically, because an engine essentially is a gas-powered air pump. That's all it does, is it takes air in and it moves it out the back and it makes power in the meantime. I don't mess with the computers in tuning. So I don't, he's stealing the show.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. So I don't do engine tuning. I do have a video of a motorcycle, my bike getting dyno tuned. I leave that stuff to professionals because you can break a lot of stuff if you don't know what you're doing. If you like make your fuel mixture too lean, you'll have too much oxygen, and more oxygen means more heat, and more heat means boom. So a lot of times when you see race cars blowing up, that's because they leaned out and they exploded because of that. So here are my mufflers sitting on the ground, not attached to anything. So of course
They don't need to be.
So of course whenever all you have on your car is just a pair of these and nothing else, You have to know what that sounds like, right? So that's what that sounds like.
That was back when you had short hair.
Yeah.
That smile.
So that was what a 6.2 liter V8 sounds like with just open headers. And when I say open headers, I mean just this on the engine and nothing else. It's quieter now because I did put the mufflers back on. It's louder than stock, but it's not that loud. I still kind of want to put some electric cutouts on it so I can just hit a button and have it that loud whenever I want.
Pulled over so fucking fast.
Well, I just closed the closeouts again, and but yeah, one more time. Why not?
Rock hard.
All right, so yeah, here's some pictures of my supercharger.
You know the job went good when you're flipping what came out off.
Yeah, that was not easy to remove. So this is my supercharger lid, and then this is an intercooler that you can see two coolant lines. So there's coolant that runs through here that keeps my my intake air temperatures lower, and these are the blades of the supercharger right here. So we're talking about performance parts right now. Almost no vehicle on the road these days has superchargers or turbos, unless it's a high performance or high efficiency. They'll put turbos on really, really tiny engines to get more power out of them because they're just so small that they're basically unusable without a turbo, or a high performance vehicle with turbos. But in this case, the supercharger, what it does is it takes the place of an intake manifold, and it's belt driven, and it's got these two impellers. There's these two giant screws that go like this, and it just sucks air into the engine, and it's called forced induction. So it forces extra air into the engine to make more power. A turbocharger works the same way, but it uses exhaust pressure to spin a turbine that is attached to another sucker turbine that sucks air in to your engine. So that's just these are just random pictures now of some of my projects. More pictures of the supercharger. I put some rags in there to keep things from falling in because this is basically open to the engine, or open to the environment right now. That's a spark plug. I had to put different spark plugs in because my tuner advised me to do that because of the extra power that I was making. The stock spark plug wasn't going to be strong enough. And this is another one of those cases where if you go to the parts store and ask for spark plugs, if your car is modified in any way, you have to use your own spark plugs. So I've got a note of exactly what spark plugs I use because these are different from what the factory would suggest. So if I go to this parts store and I say I need such and such, I need Iridium T3X spark plugs, they say those aren't supposed to go on your car. I say just give me what I asked for. Just shut up. Like. So here is an example of back to DIY, back to beginners, back to learning how to do things yourself. This is my right rear door. The window wasn't going up, and like the window was only going like halfway down and would get stuck and was going back up again. So I thought that it was going to be a electric window actuator. And what that is it's like this little scissor thing that goes up and down, and the motor, this is the window motor, it's attached to the actuator, which I actually have on the floor here. And that's what your glass is on the top, and when it goes up and it goes down like that, and that's what rolls your window up and down. This window wasn't working, and the dealership was gonna charge me like $300 to change the window motor. It's like, yeah, it's probably just your window motor. It's $300. Bring it in, we'll take care of it for you. So I said, I don't want to spend $300. So what I did was, I took the door panel off, and then this is like this little weatherproof membrane that you peel back. You want to be very careful with that because it does have like this removable adhesive that helps keep moisture out. And then I looked inside, and I noticed that this rubber bit had come off of this track. So it's supposed to look like this, and then it had just popped off and was jammed out like that. And then the glass goes in this track right here, and the glass was getting jammed up in this rubber bit. So all I did was put a little bit of low yield adhesive on here, and I just reached up in there with my fingers and I pushed that rubber bit back in, and that's all it was. There was nothing wrong with the motor, there was nothing wrong with the actuator, there was nothing wrong with the switch. This was free to fix. This was a completely free fix. Saved me like $300 if I took it to a dealership to have them fix it. And that's if they're honest and they tell you that that's what it was.
They'll never tell. They'll take that $300. If anything, they'll tell you it's $400.
They'll take your money. They'll fix it for you, and they'll take your money and send you on your way. Sometimes, you hope that you don't deal with dishonest dealerships. But if they're a dishonest dealership, now if they're an honest place that you take your car to, and I do know some places that are honest that will take care of you, they'll say, hey, I just took your door apart, and all it was your weather stripping was jamming up your glass. All I did was fix your weather stripping. See ya. What do I owe you? Nothing. You don't owe me anything. Have a good day. Cool. That place that I sent you when you were asking about your dashboard job is one of those type of places.
Yeah, that's usually got one for the truck too, where they'll look at it first before they
yeah.
say anything.
But this was a free fix, and these are my plastic tools, by the way.
How many snaps did it cost you?
How many what?
Snaps.
Oops.
Oh, I didn't break any actually.
Bullshit.
No, because I was using the right tool for the job. So these little plastic hooks, you just hook those into the snaps and they just pop the. So he's talking about these little plastic rivets that hold interior bits together. I hate working on interior. Yeah, I do have a box of extras, but yeah. So this is an example going less from advanced back to something everyone can do, because anyone could do this. This is pretty easy, and I have an iPad right here. And this iPad had a YouTube video from a guy that was doing the job, and I was just following along. Because I deal more with engines, I don't deal much with interior stuff. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't doing anything wrong. So now we're getting into motorcycle stuff. These are both of my bikes without wheels on them. So they're hover bikes. These are like special jack stands that you use on motorcycles so that you can take the wheels off. And here, again, here's my organization. So I've got the bolts that go on the left side of the fork here, and the bolts that go on the right side of the fork there. And I've got my nut and my washer set exactly how I took it off. That way I can put it back on correctly. In both of these cases, it was just me changing tires. And then here's the wheels. And so on a motorcycle, whenever you start seeing steel bands like this is when it's time to change your tires. These tires were pretty far gone. I don't usually like to let them get that far. In this case, I probably only had like 10 miles left on that tire before using it, or before it would, start losing air.
That looks like a literal fucking Krispy Kreme donut.
The tires?
Yeah.
Yeah. The pictures don't do it much justice, but they're bigger tires in person.
That looks older than your son, dude.
Yeah. He's got good hair, man. But I saved a lot of money doing this because if you fuck with motorcycles, then if you take your bike in to get new tires mounted, then they'll charge you a certain amount of money because of labor. The place that I went to is Morimoto's off of Dale Mabry, and I just brought them the loose wheels and loose tires, and I said they did $25 per wheel just to mount my tires for me. So I brought them in, they mounted them and sent me on my way. So it was $50. If I brought the whole bike to them, I think they quoted me at like $230 or something because of the labor to take the wheels off.
They charge you to dispose of the tires too? The old tires?
I don't know. What was that? Yeah. I vaguely don't remember, but if it was like a negligible amount.
Take them shits off.
Couple
throw 'em on the
bucks.
side of the road.
Yeah, or just chuck them in the bay. Yeah.
I'll build the reef.
But in this case, and actual car shops are the same way too. So if you have just one tire that needs to be patched or replaced, if you have a way of removing that and bringing it into them as just a wheel, then it's generally a lot cheaper than if they have to put tools on the vehicle and do it themselves. So I saved a couple $100 by just taking these off and throwing them in the trunk of my car and taking them down there and having them do it. It's another way to save money. This was a really fucked up wheel bearing.
Oh shit.
So I noticed, so while I was riding, I noticed that at low speeds I was feeling like a grinding sound, and I looked back and my wheel was like going like this. And I was like, holy shit. So it turns out my wheel bearings were shot. Again, this would have been a very expensive repair because not only would they charge you whatever amount of labor it took to take the wheel off, but pressing bearings in and out of a wheel is additional labor.
Yep.
I never actually got a quote on how much it would cost for them to do this for me because, oh, this is something else I wanted to mention, specialty tools. This right here is called a
Bearing presser.
a bearing, it's like a,
It's like a bearing press kit.
yeah, it's a bearing press kit, but it's got like a race, like it's called like a race, R-A-C-E, like a race kit. Press and race, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but if you're pressing bearings, they'll know. This is a very, very expensive and like something that you only use once ever. I don't want to spend, $200 on a bearing kit
Make friends.
that I'm never going to use. Places like AutoZone and other places like that will loan you tools for the cost of the tool. So if this is like a $200 tool kit, they will loan it to you for $200. And if you bring, and you can keep it for as long as you want. Well, to a certain extent. But if you don't bring it back, then you just bought it for $200. But if you do bring it back, they give you a full refund. They don't even charge you like a fee for using their tool. Do you remember the slide hammer I was talking about in a previous slide? Slide hammer is another one of those examples. I don't own the slide hammer, but I did need it for that project, and I borrowed it from them. It was like $80, and then after I was done, I brought it back to them, and they refunded me my full $80. So that's really nice. That's a really nice thing to keep in mind. And I promise I don't like flip things off all the time. But here's the new bearing. There's the new bearing there. There's another one that's in the plastic. And then this is the kit right here. Whenever you're pressing a new wheel bearing into the wheel, you always want to make sure that it's like as square and straight as possible. And then this is like a handle that threads into this so that you can hold it and then hit it with a hammer. And you just want to knock them in real nice and slow and evenly. But then this was actually kind of a bitch of a job. I had to use torches and heat it. That's why my glove is a little torn up here. It was not an easy thing to do, full disclosure.
You're really making a good sales pitch for Suzuki's, dude.
No, Suzuki's are great, actually. Suzuki is like my favorite Japanese bike brand. But to take the bearing out, like I had to use a torch and I had to heat it and then finally bang the old one out. And then I put the new ones in the freezer for a while, and putting them in the freezer sort of contracts the metal a little bit, and that helps you install them more smoothly. You can do it without the freezer, but the freezer helps. And then here's my bike getting dyno tuned. This is like something that I would have a professional do.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, so that was at Proven Power. I think it made like 140 horsepower, which for a 750cc bike is decent, I think. I think my Aprilia out there makes like 180 or 185, which on a motorcycle is kind of insane. Most like Harleys and bikes like that make less than 100 horsepower.
And they're a ton heavier.
Yeah, and they're a lot heavier. And I did tell y'all that I'm not easy on my tires, so here's a...
Video of the guy catching it on fire.
So there's a burnout. Yeah, that was actually an old tire already that I was just sending to Valhalla. Honestly, that tire was already showing cords. Tires, especially on motorcycles, are pretty expensive. Like I think I got some new tires on my black bike recently, and I think they were like almost $400 each. So I wouldn't do burnouts on good rubber, but these tires were showing cords like what were in that previous slide. So I was like, ah, fuck it, why not? And this was in my neighborhood, so that's why I'm not like wearing gear or anything. It was just like I just went down to the park, lit them up, and then went back home, and then took them off and took them in to get replaced. Here's another picture. So this is what an exhaust on a motorcycle looks like compared to the one on the Cadillac. This is the stock exhaust on the left. As you can, it's got this giant catalytic converter. It was extremely heavy.
You don't need that.
You got like all these extra bends here, this extra tube. This is actually a hollow tube that connects this cylinder to this cylinder. Don't really know why that was there. I mean, I'm sure an engineer had a good answer. What's up?
What is a catalytic converter, and why should everybody give theirs to me?
Catalytic converters, they're communist, and everyone should get rid of theirs.
And give them to me.
Not one of my vehicles, not one of them. My Cadillac, my Firebird, or my bike, or any bike has a catalytic converter on it. Long story short, catalytic converter is just a thing that supposedly cleans and purifies your exhaust gases on their way out the back. They do have platinum inside of them, so crackheads do like to steal catalytic converters.
Okay, why do we gotta throw rocks here?
So crackheads do like to steal catalytic converters, although it is increasingly difficult to actually get catalytic converters scrapped by a reputable source. So I removed my catalytic converters off of my car, and I did it because it's mine. And I was like, oh, I might make some extra money by, selling my cats to a scrapyard. And there were like a lot of hoops that I had to jump through to the point where my cats are still sitting in my shed in the backyard. And I just have not gotten around to actually selling them yet. But selling catalytic converters is harder than I thought they would be. So generally speaking, like 150 or 200 bucks, depending on the size of it. This is a really small one, so you'd probably get like maybe 50 or 60 bucks for it. But like if a crackhead only needs 10 bucks, then they'll sell it to someone for 10 bucks, and they'll
Also, happy birthday, Ramses. I got you the catalytic converter of everybody's car in the parking lot.
I don't want them. This went in the trash. So this is the aftermarket exhaust. As you can see, it's got nothing on it. It's stainless steel, very lightweight. And it made the bike louder without even changing the muffler, because of course you didn't lose. Also, it's got like this weird butterfly valve thing here and here and here. Like it was just a lot less complex. And this is what the top of the bike looks like if you ever pop the gas tank open. These are the throttle bodies to the engine. This engine is an inline 4. As you can see by its 4 individual throttle bodies, and it's sideways, just like kind of like it would be in a car when you open up a car with a 4-cylinder engine. Yeah. So last.
Belt drive on a motorcycle. What's better?
It depends on the bike. So all sport bikes have chains on them. Usually cruisers will have belts, and I don't really think anyone really uses drive shafts anymore except for like BMW. I don't know. On the cruisers maybe, yeah. Or like their Goldwing, yeah, that might be a shaft drive. There's not one that's better or worse. There's better or worse depending on what you're using the bike for. So like if it's a dirt bike or a sport bike, you always want a chain, just because it's for high power and for like, crazy RPMs and all that stuff. The chain is the most durable. Harley Davidsons use belts, and most cruisers use belts. I think it's a smoothness thing. I don't know. I've actually never owned anything that wasn't a chain drive. And this is the last one. So this is the hackiest car. This is the project that my friend's working on right now that I've been helping a little bit with, the Honda Mini Cooper. So this is the Mini Cooper engine. This was the last day that this car had its original engine, and we pulled it out and threw it in the side of the garage. That's another picture of us pulling it out. So we are case swapping it. It's so when he said K-swap, that's just the engine engine code for the Honda motor that we're working on. Yeah, it's going to have turbo as well. Yeah, so we're hoping for like 600 horsepower out of this stupid little Mini Cooper. Originally, I don't even think it had 100. This is like a 1.2 liter little.
I think it
like,
would erode if you fucking slid 600
it's like a
horses
dickless
through
little
that
car.
thing.
So this is just us working on the block. So we're like just honing out the cylinder. This is the K motor. This is the Dremel tool that we use for porting and honing. So this is the head right here that goes on top of the block, and all we do is we put like a little grinding wheel on the Dremel, and we go through these heads one at a time. We just polish them up really shiny, and we take away material. That way it has more space inside, more head space, and better flowing air, because the way you make power is by moving air more efficiently. The more air you can push through your engine, the more power you'll make. That's why forced induction exists. That's why nitrous exists. That's why all that exists. Yes, sir.
What happens if you fuck up and take too much off of your port?
You're kind of just polishing. You can't really take too much material away unless you like break it completely. Generally speaking, when you're getting it tuned, the tuner will they'll see what your intake air pressures are, as well as your exhaust, as well as your air fuel ratios, and they'll adjust accordingly. So if you take too much material away, then you'll have too much air. The tuner will see that in their matrix, and they will add fuel to compensate for that. So unless you break it entirely, you can't really take too much away. Here's the clutch and transmission. Actually, this is the flywheel. Another pro tip whenever you're doing something like this is like to use a paint marker. So what we did was, after we attached this flywheel, we torqued all these down to spec, and then we made these little lines with a paint marker. That way, whenever we inspect it later on, we can see if a bolt is backing out or not. You want to make sure all these lines are still in line with each other. And then this is the transmission being mounted. So here's the flywheel, and then in this picture we have the clutch and the pressure plate installed, and then this is the bell housing for the trans. And the really scary part was the wiring. This engine had a complete standalone system with the computer and all that. So here's the turbo that you were looking for. It's a 65 millimeter turbo. And then this is all the wiring that we went through. This has eventually been all loomed up. The car does run now, but it doesn't drive yet. Here's a picture of the wiring further along with like where the ignition wires will go. And these wires down here are for various sensors and things like that. Doing a really custom job like this is really difficult, especially when you're like doing the wiring yourself. Now, if we picked an easier engine, like an LS engine, we could have gotten a wiring harness that was already pre-made that would just drop right in. But this wiring harness had to be made from scratch, because I don't know if any other Mini Coopers with K-swaps exist, or if they do, I don't really know about it.
And you guys were able to use the same transmission, or did you guys have to upgrade that also?
We used a Honda transmission that came with the engine. And here is how it sits from a couple days ago. It's back on its wheels. It does drive, but it's still not fully drivable yet. We may even bring it here to the temple someday. But yeah, we got some little gold heat shield here because there's a piece of plastic right next to this turbo. This has all been powder coated. And yeah, so if you're not doing any, so if you do want to go down this route, it is a lot of fun and very rewarding. You can do really fun projects like put too much power in a car that's too small. Because honestly, that Mini Cooper is pretty fun to drive, even with no power on it. But do we have any more questions? Anything like that? Did you all like this talk, or just kind of just showing off some of my projects at the end there?
You remind me of my dad had a friend who was I believe he was a helicopter mechanic in Vietnam. My dad had a friend who was a helicopter mechanic in Vietnam, and he did this. He'd build cars and get to the point where he's like, oh, I'm half done, and just leave them, wouldn't ever finish them. But he had a truck, it used so much gas that he'd fill up before he drove the like 12 miles to our house, and then would have to fill up again to drive back home. So
It's probably just a tuning issue. If it was that old, it was probably just a carburetor that needed.
yeah,
Probably didn't even run well.
sucked gas down to use.
Yeah.
Because he'd look the light, he'd watch the gauge go like that.
Yeah. Anyone want to talk about any of these projects that I showed y'all, or the no bikes or anything like that?
Before you get the Mini Cooper on the road.
So the Mini Cooper is drivable now, but it's not like finished yet. Like it still has like some quirks with its tune. So it's drivable now, but like to be like completely finished, probably another couple weeks. So just depends on how much time we have after work. So he lives like 2 blocks down from me, so I can just walk to his house. So
Any questions before we close out for the night?
any questions on Discord?
Yep. I have a question for all of you. So if RamRod were to bless us with an episode 2 of this, what would you want to see him talk about?
ODB.
Say again?
ODB.
What the old dirty bastard?
ODB?
Diagnostics. ODB.
Okay, OBD.
What about
ODB is old dirty bastard from the Wu-Tang Clan. Fucking RJ. Okay, so OBD reading. What else? Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess the peanut gallery is telling fuck you and fuck your talk.
That's what
Anything?
I expected.
Okay.
Yeah, I will say newer cars, if they do throw an engine code, you can buy these little thingy-mabobbers that go into your OBD port, and there's a smartphone app where you can it'll actually tell you what your codes are, and you can even clear them and things like that. And that can be helpful. One time on my Cadillac, one of my spark plug wires made contact with my header, and it burned through and was shorting to the block and was causing a misfire. And when I connected my OBD sensor to it, it just said misfire cylinder 7. So I just looked at cylinder 7, and then I saw that the wire was fucked up, so I pulled the wire out and put a new wire in and made sure it didn't touch my cylinder or my exhaust, and it was good to go. So on newer cars with OBD ports, that can be very helpful. Especially these. These are actually pretty good. That plug in and then connect to your phone. And then these are usually a little more, I wouldn't buy a $19 one.
Yeah.
Have you ever put a turbocharger on something that wasn't turbocharged before?
The Mini Cooper.
Mini Cooper?
Me and my friend fucked around with a lawnmower once. He had a Husqvarna lawnmower. I think I have a video of that, actually. But he has a Husqvarna lawnmower that we put a turbo on. Let me see if I can find it.
You can put the old Mini Cooper.
Put the old Mini Cooper engine in there? Yeah.
Put a super high power engine on like a rideable lawnmower. I want to see you going down like 70.
Right in the X-Smart.
Or that one
With the 2 little controls.
Oh, yeah.
or the video of just the couch that someone made into a drivable car.
What was the hardest mistake that you had to fix when you were learning to build your cars or work on them?
Thankfully, I don't think I've ever made, because I'm like very cautious with everything that I do. So I guess the only thing I've ever really done is like break something that I didn't intend to break, like something plastic or like a sensor or something. But it wasn't like horrible.
I watched my dad take the distributor cap off and remove all the wires and then replace the plugs and then go, I don't remember where they were going.
Oh, he mixed up his firing pattern.
All right. Any questions for RamRod before we call it? If you want to tell me what to press to kill the stream.
Good talk, Ramses.
Do you want to tell me?
Oh yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Good job, Ramses.
Thank you, thank you.
It's time to say